So, welcome to another episode of the Trailblazers Experience podcast, the podcast where we have candid conversations with women sharing their career journeys across various industries and sectors. My next guest is Paula, co-founder of Martys Drinks Juice, and Martys Distribution is the company behind Martys Spiced Tomato Juice or Tomato, the ultimate tomato cocktail. If you aren't a fan of tomato juice, it's because you haven't tasted Marty's spiced tomato juice yet. And I haven't actually tasted it, Paula. So this is on me. Make sure that I get that juice and do what I need to do. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
And we've just found out that we actually live in the same town, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we said what are the chances? We have very close to each other. So
Literally,
it's
literally.
like coming by to drop off a Martys.
Exactly. No excuses. So, Paula, for the audience, I'm always intrigued about, first of all, people who start businesses and people who've had an interesting journey that's led them to this point. So, could you share with us your journey that led to you co-founding Marty's Spice Tomato Juice and give us a bit of the context behind this journey, which I'm sure has been interesting because you're originally from South Africa, aren't you?
Yes, I'm signed up for 100%. Yes, so it is an interesting journey. I actually come from a digital media and marketing background, but my heart has always been in food. If you've known me, if you've known my family, we have a very strong foodie culture. We've made food from scratch. We've grown food. We've partaken in food tourism. You bottom line with us. We are all trying everything that is local or native to the place we're going to. I always say if you come on holiday with me and my family, the first conversation we'll have is about every meal we're having throughout the day and the day will be planned to make sure that those meals are delicious and cooked and beautiful. So
That's my kind of holiday.
So I started my career in sort of a technology-based startup. I became a part owner of that business, and it was wonderful to be part of something that I owned part of. There was a hands-onness, there was a realness, it was partly mine. And then throughout my late 20s and 30s, 50s, I had much more senior roles in bigger corporates. I had partnerships with people like Google and LinkedIn and Facebook and BBC. I worked with cutting edge technologies. It was a really exciting, interesting place to be. But a lot of these were big corporates. And towards the end of my 50s, I decided to get out of that rat race, and I went into consulting, and I started consulting to technology businesses who were growing their own businesses and doing their own things. And it got me excited about the fact that, getting your hands dirty, being part of something that's yours it's just a different mindset when you're running a business. And so I think it made me realize that something was on the cards for me to do that was mine. I just didn't know what it was yet. And so I then had a son in my sort of late 30s, and in my late 30s, early 40s, we moved to the UK relatively recently. And I was between consulting discussions and consulting jobs. And my brother had also just immigrated at the time to Amsterdam. He had a very foodie background. He'd written some food cookbooks, and then he'd run for many years his own ethically sourced dairy and butchery. He sold that up, and he and his wife had moved to Amsterdam because she'd got a job there. And the two of us were discussing our next jobs. So we never really considered working together because we had such different paths. But we realized this might be the time. And so my brother had, while he'd been doing this sort of the dairy, I've been a little bit involved. He played around with some recipes. He sort of tested out some product with tomato juices and sort of tomato cocktails. And he also had sort of looked at some sort of branding and spoken to the stockers. And he said, "Well, there's something there." And I said, "Well, should we try? Should we just try? Like, I know you really well. You know what I'm making this summon for. We've known each other pretty much all our lives. So let's try it." And we did. And Marty's spiced tomato juices and Marty's virgin vinegar were born. And that's the beginning.
And how long has Marty's juice then been on the market for then?
So it's been on the market. It was tested around sort of 4 or 5 years ago a little bit, and then COVID hit, and then things sort of died. In South Africa, it's been around for about 3 years now. Properly in the market, and in the UK, we've been around for a year.
That's amazing. I mean, even you just telling your story about starting your career, then going into corporate. Do you think while you're working in corporate there, what did you like about working there? And B, what was the reason to say, actually, I really don't want to do this anymore and move into, the consulting and smaller businesses might be the direction for you?
Well, I'm starting my business. I started in a small business, and we grew it. And it was so interesting because we were fearless. We did everything. We could do everything. But I always wanted to know on the other side, in big corporates, what resources did they really have that I didn't have? What knowledge, what like pearls of wisdom came from these big corporates that made them so successful? So I realized that my next move needed to be into those, so I could have that experience and sort of tick that box. And I got there. I was astounded that there were no pearls of wisdom. Mostly big corporates, they have great infrastructure, don't get me wrong, but they also they don't do things fast enough for me. I remember having a discussion with my boss one day. I go, this is so frustrating. I keep on trying to do things. He's like, don't worry, they'll happen. Go have a drink. Don't come into work early tomorrow. Just breathe. And I was like, that's not how I work. I mean, I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm inspired. I want to make things work. And so I spent some time in corporate just trying to work out how to get things done. And I spent most of my time just fighting that fight. And eventually realized that actually there's no point in fighting those things. If you do one in corporates, that's great. It just wasn't for me. And so I walked out of it saying, no, and in fact, every such time I'd worked with a company or sort of interviewed in any kind of way to work with someone, my first answer was, please, I need to get my hands dirty. I don't care. I know I've been in very senior positions before, but if I don't feel like I'm part of something, doing something, working, I just don't feel like I'm contributing. And so, yeah, as I say, big corporates have never been for me. And I suppose they're a nice way to make a good salary and be very comfortable, but it just doesn't inspire me enough.
Yeah, I think if you're interested in understanding or being parts of every part of the business, so end to end, then you will struggle because in a corporate structure, you have your role, you're playing one part in it. And like you said, you're waiting for sign off, you're waiting for somebody else to approve the next step, and it might not happen. And you're literally just, it's different, isn't it? But you've sort of had the entrepreneurial background. So when you walked in there, you were like, okay, to your point of the pearls of wisdom, you'd already probably had all those pearls through your journey as an entrepreneur as well.
Well, I think what I realize is one learns a lot. And I think the key to learning a lot is not about if you have all the answers. Constantly asking people for advice, questions. I mean, my co-founder, my brother, always says, you always read down on calls. And I was like, I know. I want people, A, to not think that I know everything because I can't. And B, the more stupid questions I ask, the more they often just tell you things that they shouldn't tell you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they open up and they give you kind of a bit of real insights. And I feel like that's really, really important. It's so important to realize that you are probably dumber than you think, probably know more than you think, but you also, and ask those questions, constantly ask. I mean, I've been lucky enough throughout this journey to have be able to seek out and get advice across 2 different countries, people with a lot of experience. And I've really enjoyed understanding. I've also enjoyed questioning after actually what they're talking about is probably the most efficient way to do things, because I think that's important too. But learning from people who've been in industries for 30, 40 years and really getting to grips with what they do is, I think, so important. And people are also learning like you, just getting as many insights as you can, constantly asking questions, that constantly know that you know little, but you can always learn more. It's really important.
Exactly, because you never stop learning. Now, starting a new brand has its own set of challenges. Being a co-founder, working with family, can you talk about some of the obstacles that you've faced and how you've tackled them?
Sure, I would say so. Yes, starting a new business is so hard, so rewarding. I mean, the highs can be so high, and also you're really excited about small things. Someone accepted my LinkedIn request the other day, and they were really important. And I told my husband, who was like, "Wow,
That's an achievement, yes.
I was like, that was pleasure."
Yeah.
But as I say, these are all key things. I think what I realized is that there's a lot and a lot of setbacks. There always are. But there's a key moments that are going to obviously help. And once you start growing at an increasing rate. So one mustn't feel despondent that you're not getting there, because growth isn't linear. It's going to be you get growth and you get growth, and then you get that growth is going to lead to more growth. So I think the key milestone that we had, and I think the key thing that gave us the confidence to realize that we had something that was really good was about just over a year ago, we were accepted by the largest retailer in South Africa to join their SME program. And it was probably the best way for us to get into retail. We have no retail experience. And many people, as I asked to explain retail, that's many answers I got into how it worked. So I realized that there was a lot of confusion and a lot of different ways that retail functions. And so we applied, and we got a lot of like sort of maybes and some rejections, and eventually we got into the SME program. And it was incredibly gentle and wonderful way to be handheld into retail, to understand how it works, to be taken through the processes, and that success led to more successes. So in South Africa, there's sort of 4 major retailers, and it got us into another sort of 5 major retailers. We're now in the 3 of the top ones, and the 4th one we're launching in September. So that success got us into other programs, which got us other recognition. And it's quite interesting because we had situations where there were buyers that we'd spoken to, because that's what you do, you constantly talk to buyers, and really it just laughed on our faces and said, it's totally ridiculous, no one drinks tomato juice. Macaroni drinks tomato juice, but that's not a thing. I mean, you sell a lot of it. Yeah, but nobody, that's not, that same buyer, I turned around kind of a year later and went, having forgotten about that conversation completely, and was like, oh, we're so excited to have you, you're so innovative. So we realized that a lot of no's are just yeses in disguise. And so as I said, I think our biggest milestone there was, and the recognition of getting a big retailer on board, just getting a big partner to acknowledge us and take us on and take us seriously, and that has really led to big milestones.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about, so who are the retailers? We just say they're similar. Sorry?
No, so ShopRite Checkers is the biggest retailer in the whole of Africa. And they're incredible, actually. They're doing some amazing things. ShopRite Checkers has got 2 different brands. Checkers is kind of its more high-end market, and then ShopRite is kind of sort of more mass market. Checkers has done an incredible thing. It almost has created a retail department store feel within each store. They are beautiful. The stores are amazing. You walk in and you'll have a sushi bar that is sponsored by a very well-known local sushi brand. You have smoothie bars. You have cheese counters that are incredible. It is an incredibly rich shopping experience, and they've done it by partnering and fostering local brands in the South African economy, which is an incredible way to kind of embrace and uplift what we know is beautiful products and have it accessible to everybody. So they've done that, and they've accepted us into that fold, and we are now in almost 50 of their stores, and we'll keep growing, which is really exciting.
That's amazing. I mean, a lot of what you've said in your story, it's about timing as well. When you were speaking to all those buyers, they probably weren't ready for your product, your category. And we're going to talk about your product and what makes it so special as well, because I think for a very long time, and you see it here in the FMCG, that anything that's niche or special has a story behind it, or vegan or vegetarian, or catering to a market that maybe was forgotten or wasn't really at the cusp. There is now an appetite for that in the market as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we weren't trying to be trendy with our brand. We just wanted to create something that was actually quite nostalgic, that at least was healthy and good for you, and ticked all the boxes that we believed were the right things, and the way that we ate and we drank, and hoped that other people would see the same thing, which they have started doing, which we're really excited about.
So for the audience who then might be, walking into ShopRite or Checkers, we have people listening to the podcast globally, and we can talk about who some of the retailers are here, because I've seen it in the local coffee shop as well. What is special about Martys, and why do you think it's necessary in this current market and environment?
So I think our biggest part of Martys is, if you look at it in a mindful drinking space, or just in a drinking space, it's different because it's umami and savory. Now, that isn't a normal flavor profile that people associate with drinking. I mean, generally everything's a bit sweet. That's the truth. Like, sweet is our go-to flavor profile in any shape or form, and this isn't that. It's as I say, it's savory, it's umami. It's distinctly those things. I've tasted a lot of a lot of tomato cocktails, a lot of virgin Bloody Marys, a lot of Bloody Marys in my lifetime. And they also often verge towards the sweet side. We are not that. The other thing I think that puts people off tomato juice is often is thick. And it is. I mean, it's a thicker consistency than maybe apple juice. But we've made Martys a bit distinctively lighter, so it is still refreshing. It doesn't feel, and we say it's all that bloopers for soup, not for tomato juice. So Martys won't have that. It won't be thick. And I think often when we create, when people do tomato juices, they're often made as mixes, which makes sense because you're going to add vodka or gin or whatever you're going to add to them, and that waters it down. Because Martys are ready to drink non-alcoholic cocktail. We want it to have that consistency up front. We don't want you to have to think you have to add booze to it to make it better. That wasn't the purpose of it. And then in the ingredients, this is incredibly clean, and we did that on purpose because that's the way I eat. That's the way my mother eats. It's the way we believe things should be done. Certainly in South Africa, if you look at the back of these tomato juices, they're full of things I've never heard of. It's supposed to be a healthy drink, but if you take out, it isn't, because it's just full of rubbish. Like, it's preservative. It's crazy. So tomato juice should be a very natural thing. And so Marty's is we don't add any extra sugar. We add a little bit of apple juice just to level with the flavor profile. So we have sweet and savory and tart. We have apple cider vinegar in it with the mother. That's very important. So that's full of it's full of gut-loving properties that apple cider vinegar does have. Also, we did it for the flavor profile because apple cider vinegar isn't as harsh as something like a malt vinegar. It has a nice kind of like sort of leveling off of the palate. And then we've got our own unique flavor sort of spice profile. Traditionally, you'd add Worcester sauce to tomato cocktail. Worcester sauce has anchovies in it. That's the standard. And obviously anchovies aren't vegan. So to make sure that we have that same flavor profile, we have gone through countless spice. I mean, the kind of spice mix in this thing is very crazy. Anybody who's got an incredible pantry might have all the spices in it. So we're not putting crazy things in it, but it's a lot of very sort of key spices that are in there to make our sort of our own Worcester sauce, which is vegan. We have just added a vegan Worcester sauce. We created our own flavor profile. So Marty's is all those things. We are vegan. I've got a friend who's actually diabetic who many of the tomato juices, he's actually in the UK, South African based in the UK. Most of the tomato juices that are on the market at the moment have more sugar than he can have, whereas Marty's doesn't. Marty's has enough, has certainly not in that way. He is, as a diabetic, he could drink Marty's, which is really exciting. We don't go with, say, diabetic friendly because, I think everybody's got their own levels of sugar that they have to deal with. But he is able to drink Marty's, which is really exciting to me. It means that we're obviously onto a right thing. So, yeah, Marty's is a distinctively savory, umami, and vegan, and gluten-free, and that makes Marty special.
I mean, hearing this, you must have, in order to get product market fit or market product fit, both are important, must have gone through so many products and tasting, because it's also about texture, flavor, and the consistency. That is just amazing. And it just shows a testament that to get the right product, you have to go through all these. I mean, your taste buds must be so alive and well to create this.
We actually did all of the product development ourselves, which is interesting because I think a lot of people work with product development. Because this was a foodie thing, and because we wanted to make sure that you could make it with things that you knew, we really did have to start in the kitchen. So we've actually got, unfortunately, we didn't get really high-res pictures. We've got pictures of the different variations standing on our kitchen sort of windowsill, bath 1 to bath 74. We like the story. Actually, funny enough, we started this whole process in a garage pressing tomatoes because we wanted to know how to do this. And so we started by pressing tomatoes. We use different kinds of presses, hydraulic presses. You don't get tomato pressing equipment; it doesn't exist. So we kind of we used a matching mix at one point. Then we used buckets. Then we used the apple press. What we realized though is the problem with pressing fresh apples immediately as a starting point is they oxidize quite quickly. So we have to kind of work with those sort of things. There was a lot of product development that took place. To get to Marty's has been quite a journey. And also one has to produce a product that is factory ready, because what you could do in your kitchen, you can't always do in a factory. It's just
you have to be able to scale it up, isn't it? Yeah.
So it's been quite a few iterations, but what's been true to Martys the whole way around. We wanted something that was light and refreshing, that wasn't, that didn't put people off, and we wanted something that had a beautiful savory kick, because that is unique to what we've always created. My brother, my brother used, the name Martys comes from my brother. My brother's Paula Raubenheimer, and it's an ode to his obsession as a child to create the ultimate tomato cocktail to signify the beginning of our family holiday. I remember a 7-year-old Martin, a 10-year-old Martin, like making different versions of tomato cocktails. He was in love with tomato cocktails, and it was like our family drink for holidays. And so that is what Martys is. It's an ode to my brother and his quest for the perfect holiday cocktail.
So there a lot of things are just coming out for me in terms of key messages, especially for entrepreneurs, is you have to find something that you're passionate about. That is so important. And there'll be so many iterations before you get to that right product. You have to believe in that product enough to be able to sell it. And then the last one is, are you bootstrapped? So how did you even fund this business? Like, you probably only started making money, in year 2, year 3? Is it bootstrap self-funded? Talk to me about that.
So we absolutely self-funded. So in South Africa, we invested the exactly the same amount in South Africa as we've done in the UK. It goes further in South Africa, the money, as you can imagine. So yes, 100% bootstrapped. We invested some money and we've reinvested. I have to say what's interesting, because we've been increasing our production at quite an increasing rate. If all the money we're making has to go back into production. So as I say, it's been, our business is certainly, it is turning a profit, but at the moment, all of those profits are going straight back into making more stock so that we can obviously grow as we're growing as fast as we are. In the UK, we did invest the same amount of money. We have since then applied for a virtual startup loan just to get us a little bit of cash injection. So we've got that money to then obviously use for more production and for marketing, because that certainly is where all your money goes. It will either go into product production, or it will go into whatever small bit of marketing you can do, and you need to use that money wisely. And we are doing the best we can.
I mean, that's just brilliant. But yeah, it's good to have those conversations, because funding isn't easy to come by. I've had so many conversations with women who said when they started out, they couldn't even get any funding. So it was one of those things saying, let's bootstrap, let's make sure we have a great product, and tapping into, like you said, those programs that you got accepted into in South Africa that helped with the distribution, getting in front of the right customers to be able then to fund the production and growing the business. It's tough. But if you have a great product, I think the passion and the hard work behind it is really key as well.
So you say that it was an interesting conversation, because my brother and I talk about this all the time. Like, if we had money, but we actually said something interesting the other day. We were like, would we do it differently if we actually had any more money? And the answer is no. I mean, the interesting thing is about when you're spending your own money, you don't spend it badly. You know what I mean? Like, you can't afford to spend it badly. And so, while you may make a mistake or two, you're just very aware of the fact that you have to, every cent has to count. Either you have to have an incredible learning from it, or it has to, whatever cent you spend needs to make at least 10 or 5 or 20 more cents. You know what I mean? Or that's just how it works. So it's an interesting, I think being a bootstrap founder has certainly it's not been a bad thing. I think it makes you smarter, it makes you wiser. I've watched in big corporates how much money was just wasted and lost, and how, generally the attitude was, well, it's not my money. Well, I mean, that's ridiculous. Whether it's your money or not, you're responsible for it. And if you don't have a lot of it, you will spend it in absolutely the best way you can, without a doubt. And that has been a very good part of building Martys.
And also the things that you mentioned about learning the different production processes. If you hadn't gone into the kitchen and learned it from the ground up, I think now when you go into a factory or a large production unit, you can have those conversations because you've actually done it yourself.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, that was the interesting thing. We looked at Martys and how it was going to become a scalable business quite early on. And we said, we're not building a factory. We made that decision at the very beginning. A lot of the other small brands after it too have chosen a different path. But our decision was was made for us because of the following reasons. One, we didn't have the money to build a factory, and we weren't going to get that money very easily. So that wasn't even on the cards. The other was we didn't have those expertise. And if we built a factory, we'd have to either bring those in or develop those expertise. And there's only so many sets of expertise that two people can have. Then the other thing is that drinks isn't a low volume game. You need big quantities to actually kind of make this business make sense. And if you're building your own factory, you're probably building it for capability up to X point. And then you have to reinvest for a new capability and just keep on doing the capabilities. Was just going to chop so much capital. It didn't make any sense. And then the last really important thing was that we realized that we were on these programs was a lot of the guys who were self-manufacturing. There were certain sort of standard accreditations that they needed to have to be able to actually supply bigger stockists that were going to take years for them to get to. We, on the other hand, had handpicked who we were going to work with, knew what the accreditations were, knew that they had those capabilities, and so we were ready to go from the beginning. And so knowing that we had to scale and knowing that scaling was part of it and to get into all of those big retailers was vital, there was no question. I was never going to build a factory that had the accreditations in the time I needed to be able to scale this. So a bigger part of what we spent our time doing was testing facilities, working with different people, seeing what the right fit was, learning what processes they had to offer, what processes work best for us, and then using that to know exactly what we needed out of a manufacturing facility. So yeah, as I say, it's been
a learning curve as well. Talk to me about networking and how that's influenced Marty's growth in South Africa and UK as well, because you've said it yourself, you didn't have all the knowledge, and I'm sure your brother didn't either. How has networking and getting out there and speaking to people made a difference to the business?
So without a doubt, it's been vital. I mean, I think firstly, networking within the sort of the industries that we needed assistance, that has been incredibly important. The first thing I did was I reached out to anybody I knew who knew anything about anything and said, do you need some of your time, or do you know someone who can help me with this? I've done that, and I've been lucky enough to do that both across South Africa and the UK, which is obviously very rich because I need to have two different sets of experiences, two different class of people who are doing different things. So we've certainly done that in the industry, and we've made a decision quite early on that if we don't know how to do something and someone else is the expert at it, let them do it for us. Why try and do that yourself?
No egos.
Exactly. I said, why? So we weren't trying to build logistics companies. We didn't try and build merchandising businesses. Those were expertise other people had. And we've been smart about testing, obviously, different methods and different people as we've gone, so that when you go to negotiations after you've got about 2 or 3 merchandisers that are working in different regions, and you go to an exact, well, this is how you do it. I was like, well, we can work with 3 other people, and that's not how they do it. And then I post, you know something about something. So yes, it's about learning and having a network of people that you rely on and support. And then in terms of obviously having other founders that are going through similar kind of experiences in other drinks companies, that has been incredibly important. I've actively searched out and found other drinks companies either in the same category and similar categories. I haven't been afraid to speak to my direct competitors. If they wanted to talk to me, I'm willing to talk to them. Sharing any knowledge, sharing any experiences. We've partnered both in the UK and in South Africa with amazing other female-led brands who are doing similar things, and we've helped each other. We've shared the cost of merchandising, we've shared the cost of tastings, we've shared the cost of any kind of exhibition stands. It's just networking is the key. I think we're not all in a vacuum. We're all trying to do exactly the same thing, and I don't think it's about comparing yourself to the other guys. They're going to do things in different ways. They're going to get really in some way, and you're going to get it somewhere else. But I think it's just about helping each other always. You'd be very open to that, and I think it's vital.
Yeah, I think the notion that some people have saying if you share details or information about your business, that will give the competitor the upside. But if you are very true on what your product is or your service or what you're offering, that doesn't really matter. You both win actually at the end of it as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we only see benefits. I I'm often very open. I will share any contacts, any wins. I will happily share with other people, and they will do the same back. I think it's a good. And I don't think it's the same in every single industry, but certainly in the food and beverage industry, people are very willing to share. And I think it's really, really important that we help each other, because this is a hard slog, and there's no reason why you should be doing it on your own, or be that you shouldn't be trying to at least lead private. Someone else has made a mistake, and you can learn from that mistake. Goodness, do it. And if someone can learn from my mistakes, power to them. They can get a further ahead. I'll be the same, and we will all get there.
For sure. Talk to me about some of the key partnerships or collaborations that have been instrumental in your success.
So certainly in South Africa, we immediately started working with some really, really good logistics companies, which has been really, really helpful to us. We've got a key logistics company who actually does split the foods for us that it doesn't actually do for other businesses. We were looking at processes, and I think a big part of building Martys and building Martys from a non-retail background is my insight has always been, try something, test it, question it, and is that the best way to do something? And so we started working with the logistics company and working with us in some way, and then we said, well, we need this and this and this. So can you do that? And they sort of went back and thought about it, sat in a room, came back to us and said, yeah, we should do that. And I was like, well, that's brilliant, cool, let's just do that together. So we've been very lucky. Our sort of very nice big logistics company, Faithful, they do things that they, as I said, don't do for other people, but we've got a really nice agreement, and they've now taken on a lot of what we work with. Other key partners, certainly without a doubt, your biggest relationship is your manufacturing relationship, and to get the right relationship. With Martys, as I said, we tested a whole bunch of different facilities to see who had the right fit for us. So we hadn't been with one partner, and we actually started our journey with one facility that we knew we would outgrow, but he was amazing at that time. So we started with Power Soda, and Power Soda has been incredibly good at developing new products, helping to develop new processes. The most amazing maverick man runs that business. He'll MacGyver anything. When you sort of, you try out new things. We have since then moved to a bigger facility. We always knew we were going to do that, and we were testing out different operations. And we handpicked them because they're actually a community support organization. The whole organization has transformed the Swartland, which is the area in which they actually manufacture. They provided 2,000 jobs to an otherwise sort of very, very poor community. They themselves directly, for the manufacturing part, the bottling part, are a 65% female, which is unheard of in a manufacturing facility or manufacturing industry. And they focus quite heavily on previously disadvantaged people. So they have done an incredible job. And so we work with them specifically because we love their ethos, but they also can do what we need them to do. So our manufacturing partnership has been very important and very strong, and it's taught us a lot in South Africa. In the UK, we are in early stages still, so we've tested out a few facilities depending on what they can do. We've tested out 2. We've got another 2 more that we're discussing to test out to see, and we can see sort of what the strengths and weaknesses are and what the growth potential of those are. So certainly, as I say, my most important partnership has been manufacturing. If you can't get that right, you will go nowhere. The product is everything. But along the way, there certainly are many people like logistics companies, merchandising, sales teams. And we've got some really, really lovely sales teams on the ground. I'm not even in South Africa, and I'm running an entire business sitting in the UK. And I can do that because on the ground, we have people who are managing regions incredibly efficiently and successfully. And that is a testament to the fact that, if you create partnership with people who are good at what they do, you can do anything. You don't have to be there every second of the day.
And setting the right foundations, isn't it, as well, I think is key. You're working with people who are questioning the status quo, saying, we can do that, we'll try it out. And talking about community and women, I love hearing such stories about how women are being empowered in their villages, in their communities, to do something different and not be, I guess, forced to say you have to go to the city to work, or you have to work in a specific sector. How has being a female founder in the beverage industry changed your views and in terms of what women empowerment means to you?
So, I worked in tech before. Certainly also not very female dominated. The number of sort of board meetings or meetings I've been to where I was the only woman was countless. It was not uncommon to me. So I didn't find that really daunting. and certainly going into manufacturing at the same thing. I've been often the only woman on the board, but that's fine. I think women empowerment to me is just about supporting women. That's all it is. Just when I say supporting, I mean find them and work with them. They're as good as men. They are there. Their drinking, often their drinking is more interestingly. So it's they might not be as many women-led businesses, but they are there and they are doing things. So work with them and empower them by just doing what you would do in any business. I mean, it's been an interesting question because I was actually looking at myself the other day and looking at all the people that I've actually sort of gravitated towards in terms of advice and sort of helping each other. And funny enough, there often be women-led businesses. And I don't know if that's because I obviously am looking for kind of kindred spirits in the women-led space, or if women, I think, often are quite good at sharing. You know, if you could pose the question that let's collaborate to a room full of people, and often women are better at collaboration or just gravitate towards that more. So both in the UK and in South Africa, I have found or sought out female-led businesses that are in the drink space that are either our direct competitors or are akin to us or in the same sort of space, and we're helping each other. In the UK, we actually created a little group called, we're kind of testing the name, we called it ourselves Flaving Forward Female Founders. And we have a little group, a WhatsApp group, and we're talking about how we help each other, i.e. launch brands together, do collaborations, all share the costs of exhibition stands. We have a standard group where we kind of like all just helping each other. I've joined a lot of female networking groups in the UK. There are less of those in South Africa, to be fair. I think that's quite a big, there's a lot of networking groups here. I've just formed my own networking groups in South Africa, and we are constantly checking in with each other, helping each other. And as I say, I think if I can find female-led businesses that are doing incredible things that I would not be a sacrifice to work with them, then I think everybody, all female empowered bees is just work with female-led businesses because they're doing great things. Just find them because they're there. They might just be, you know, shouting as loudly and male businesses because they've probably got less funding to be able to market their wares as much, you know.
Yeah, there's something to be said about finding your tribe, isn't it? And going out there and seeking what you're looking for. But you come across as someone who a go-getter, very entrepreneurial, and I will not take no, like you said, for an answer. And if something doesn't exist, well, then let's create it. Do you think that comes through in your responsibilities as your shiny title, Chief Digital and Growth Officer? Does that shine through then when you reflect now on your experience? Wow.
I mean, my brother were talking about titles at one stage, and I was like, can you say I make a coffee? Because I do that too. I mean, titles are all so silly. But you decided to do something impressive. I mean, the truth is we're all doing something and we're all doing everything all the time. So, I mean, certainly, if the title is one thing, but I think in my role as person who's going to grow this business is what I've been doing, focusing on the business end and the growth end of this business. I have absolutely focused my attention on building relationships, collaborations. And when I started with Marty, the very, very first few months, we did everything together. I mean, it was a very inefficient way of working, but it was necessary for us to work out that what we did better, what we did worse. I mean, we can nurture and we've actually worked together. And it was important to us to understand all the processes, understand all the problems, and be part of everything. We then quickly severed those and said, okay, you're definitely better at this, I'm better at that, let's go off and do our own things. And then we used that same philosophy as we were building the business to then say, well, as a business, we're better at this, but we're not very good at that. Let's find people who can, outsource those functionalities. My role now to grow this business has been just about finding key partnerships and people who can make us do things better so we can grow more efficiently. And that's what I do. So a lot of it is about managing partnerships. I do a huge amount of those. Managing, finding, and creating commercial relationships that are going to make this business just bigger and grow.
There's something to be said about when you're working together or building a business is really that self-awareness of understanding what your strengths and your weaknesses are and quickly ironing them out and saying, right, okay, let's divide and conquer. You're going to be responsible for that. I'm going to be responsible for this. And then seeking out the expertise that you don't have. Because do you think a lot of founders fail? So we'll talk about lessons learned in terms of being a founder and growing a business because they think they can do everything and actually they can't.
I think failure I think it happens for 2 reasons. I think one is I think founders don't realize that we're all in marathons and we're not in sprints. I think that's really important. Like this is a long haul.
Yeah.
You know, and to keep on looking at what other people are doing, oh, I didn't do it as quickly. Like there's something wrong with me. No, you didn't. That's okay. There's a good chance. Sorry, this is a bit of a long story, but my son had a nanny at the time in South Africa was very concerned because my son wasn't sitting quickly enough. And I remember saying to her, it's not the sitting that's important, it's the getting to the sitting. Like he'll sit. I've never seen a 5-year-old kid in concert. Like he will sit. But the process of getting to sitting is so important. The learning is so important. And I think what's really important is often not about the achievements. I think they will come. But it's around all the learnings that you do to get there. You will get better and better at getting things faster and faster, but you've got to go through the learnings. And so I think we've got to see this as a bit of a marathon. We've got to see this as taking breaks. We've got to see this as getting yourself healthily through all the processes. I think people try and grow too fast, too quickly. You know, getting funding I think is amazing, but there's all this pressure on you to have certain kinds of growth expectations. We have our own growth expectations. We can grow as fast as our money will allow us. And actually, that's really good because we are not going to oversell and deliver. We will do exactly what we say we're going to do. We can only do it as fast as we can. And we will build a good, steady foundation because of that, I think, and a good, steady foundation of learnings for the owners who are us to actually go on to the next step. Because if you're trying to do something that a £1 million turnover business is doing, but you've only ever run a business that's turning over £5,000 the week before, you don't know how to do that. And so, as I say, that's I think one thing that's really important to founders is I think we fail because our expectations are too high. We're comparing ourselves to other people, and we're trying to run too fast. And then in that, you try to do too many things that you can't do. You try and manufacture and market and then distribute and all those kind of things. And you cannot do any of those things well if you do all of them. You do a few of them well, and you can certainly learn how things work. But as I say, I think we try to do things too fast. I think we're in a world that thinks that we have to do things incredibly fast. And I don't think that they do. If you read any of the really great success stories of really, really big businesses, they make a huge amount of mistakes first, and they do, and they learn, and they grow, and you only get to see them when you're doing the great stuff. But there's so much behind the scenes that one has to go through oneself.
Yeah, and it's also about sustainable growth, isn't it? And just focusing on the incremental gains and those small wins actually lead to the big ones. So nailing your product that it actually tastes good, that's already the biggest step because everyone wants a great product and then everything else will follow. So I think it's really great even to share for the audience because there might be someone out there who's trying to start their business and they're, like you said, looking as to how others have accelerated, but not understanding that it's part of the journey as well.
It's very important to me that we are on this journey, that we are learning the whole time. I think the biggest lesson I have learned is it's around owning that you are going to make mistakes, almost wanting to make mistakes because that's how you learn. And then the biggest and most effective thing you can do is how we deal with those mistakes. So when I come from a technology background, and there are no such things as mistakes. Everything has to be a good feedback loop. So you do something, you test it, you evaluate, you adjust, and you just keep going. So none of what you did wrong the first time is seen as a mistake.
It doesn't even matter. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. No, it's fine. You have to do that because if you did it right the first time, there's a good chance you didn't do it the best way. You just did it a way that kind of worked. So if you take that same sort of philosophy into any business, you're constantly going to do something, test it, have a feedback loop. Does it work? Does it not work? Readjust. And you're constantly doing that. And you don't have enough money to make big mistakes. So it's not making sure that you mitigate the cost of making the mistakes small, learning from it and adjusting. I mean, we've had major manufacturing issues. We've had exploding tomato juice, which in all fairness, at one stage I called tomato juice champagne. I don't think that's going to take off. Because tomato juice, it needs, obviously, it's a shelf staple product, so it needs to be pasteurized a little bit. And if it doesn't, the pasteurization doesn't work, all of a sudden it just gets yeasty, like good champagne mold does. And if you open it, it it will explode. And it has. I've got emojis on my ceiling in my kitchen, and that's proof that I can't get off. And that happened, and we had product that went out like that, and we immediately said, what do we do? How do we fix it? We just acknowledged the problem, got back as much as we could, explain to the problem, and then regroup. That you've got to know you're going to make mistakes. You've got to quickly react to them, be honest about it, and reevaluate and start again. Like, it's just, just have that mentality. Mistakes are going to happen. How quickly well you react to them is the only thing you can manage.
That's brilliant. Let's talk about self-care and balance in life, because I mean, girl, you were running a business in South Africa and here, and what, is your brother still in Amsterdam? Is he there? It's like there's a lot going on. How do you find balance in your professional and personal life? And what are the things that have steered your approach to self-care? And what does that even mean to you?
Yeah, so I mean, I know what I'm supposed to say to this, and I'm probably doing what I'm supposed to say about 50% of the time. So I'm like 50% of where it should be, but at least I'm doing some. Does that help? So the default with running a business or being an entrepreneur is you are either thinking about the work you should be doing, or you're doing the work. That's the default. I know that. So I think, to be honest, the answer is about trying to allow yourself to give yourself permission, or speak to the people you're working with and give each other permission to enjoy an hour's walk on a hot day, or to just do something that is not working. And funny enough, I find that I solve way more problems in my subconscious when I'm walking or weeding the garden or showering than I do necessarily by just sitting and trying to solve a problem. So it's incredibly productive time, but you've got to give yourself that brain power off, switch off. I also have a young son. I have to spend time with him. So I have made a conscious decision that weekends and after school times are his times. And so I try as much as possible not to eat into that. That being said, every now and then I'll be doing a tasting or something on a weekend, but I cannot spend 3 days at a festival. Because these are special moments that my son and I will lose. And I will not look back and go, oh, the festival was out of my life. I'll go, I missed my son doing something amazing. So I think it's about picking and carving out the times that are important. Food, health, exercise. It's vital to my family's way of being. So making time out for that, making sure we are constantly being active, making sure that we're eating properly. Incredibly, it's a philosophy we've always had in this house. We cook from scratch most nights, or cook from scratch most nights. For many nights going forward, we eat a lot of a lot of leftover things that are pre-made a few days before, but making sure that we're eating good food. So I think that up to yourself. If you can allow yourself a few non-negotiables and allow you to spend your time with your family, and there are a few things around health and well-being that you can put into your lifestyle that works, and then giving yourself permission as a founder and the other people in your team to say, it's a really beautiful Thursday. When I'm done, I'm going. And you're like, that's great, just do it. Because we'll be chatting about something on Friday evening because we need to get it done by Saturday. So, take the time that you can, because it's the only way to stay sane. I think we said it's a marathon, not a sprint. You got to keep going.
It's true, isn't it? Those non-negotiables for yourself and your life. It's so hard, because I think, even I'm just thinking, growing up or in the professional life, we've always been told you have to keep going, you have to give 120%. Well, what does that even mean? But those non-negotiables, we see that a lot, whether you're watching podcasts or documentaries, where you see founders who, they are high-performing founders now, are the ones who are investing time in their family or their sports or their health. And that is what is the catalyst to accelerate them to be the best that they can be. Whereas before it was, how many trips have you taken? How many meetings? How many golf tournaments? I'm stereotyping now, but do you know what I mean? I think there's been a shift, definitely.
I mean, it's about outputs. And I say, it's so interesting because I remember, this was a very good piece of advice that I had early on in my career. And someone said, don't always answer or do something immediately. Your first iteration might not be your best. Give it. If your first reaction is often not right, give it a few hours. Let it percolate. Think about something, and what you'll do will be better. It'll just be better. Don't answer immediately. And I've taken that sort of philosophy to heart. Like, they say, don't do, don't act. Some things are instinctually, you need to get something done. Absolutely. But when you have to sort of make a strategic decision, or you even have to, respond in a strategic way, none of it is, no one's dying. We are not working in like emergency services. That time, generally, an hour or two is fine. Take the time and give us a fold. And do that same thing with everything you're doing. Just breathe a little, because the chances are what you do 2 hours later will kind of like, it's just going to be a better strategic response. So it's going to be a better strategic decision. Just give it a little bit of time. And if you could take that philosophy throughout my career, especially in tech, I try to find people at the top of the games that I wanted to be at and emulate one day. And it was an interesting point. I try to find a lot of women. There weren't a lot of women to emulate. So I gave that. And I think there's just 5 people that I find very inspiring.
Mm.
And I think the people I found most inspiring and the people who just seem to have it together were calm. They were, they knew who they were and they knew who they weren't. They weren't afraid to say, I'm terrible at something and I'm really good at something. They weren't afraid to say, I hire people who are better than me because it makes me look good. Those were the people we wanted to be. And then when you spoke to them about how they thought about things, it was never knee-jerk. They never, ever had knee-jerk reactions to anything. They somehow had it all together. But I think they only had it together because they'd taken the time to sound, smart. It takes you a little time to do those things. So if you could take those philosophies, very hire people who know more than you, make you look better, take some deep breaths. You can only do better. And those are the really, really, and they seem to have kind of like this bit of wisdom. I don't think it is wisdom. I think it's just calmness, because you have the answer in you. You just gotta find it.
There's something to be said, like you said, to take a step back, not only active listening, but active thinking. My previous boss was good at that. She said, take a step back. You don't have to respond right away, reflect, and then you can respond. Whereas I was like, tick list, checklist, need to get this out the way, boom, boom, boom. But I think there's something to be said. I think as well as you mature as a leader, as well, to take a step is refreshing as well.
Yeah. I think that's what I saw in these people, that they had sort of maturity and wisdom, and it's interesting because I think as I've aged, and my brother actually said it to me. He said, the person I knew as a teenager, this is not that person. And I said, well, no. I mean, I'm 20 years into my career. Like there's a calmness and a sureness that you start having, because you're like, we'll solve it. I don't know how. The second I have Marty, can't trust. We'll work it out. Like, we can do it. And like there's. I think that's the answers. There are standard answers. You will work it out. It'll come to you, or you'll ask someone who will give you some advice who will. But I say this, I've got to do it. And I say, I every now and then I find myself sort of slipping into comparing, either comparing how another man is doing, or comparing how someone is being received, or how many likes they're getting on something, or whatever it is. And I'm like, it's easy. You fall down a slippery slope. And I think the quicker you can pull yourself back and go, don't be ridiculous. None of that is important. Like, don't compare yourself. You are your own thing. And people will love what you do in the time that you do it. It's okay.
I love that. So what's next then for Martys? Obviously, I was reading on LinkedIn about the accreditation from the Vegetarian Society. You are being acknowledged in the space that you wanted to be in that market. What's next for Martys?
So I think a big part of talking about acknowledgement. So we have quite a few awards. I think the awards are more just for us to twofold. One, for us to understand if the market actually really likes our product, and if there's sort of like adjustments we need to make, because I think all palates are different and not every market is the same. So the awards obviously are giving us sort of additional ticks, say yes, okay, the people who will like them.
The validation, isn't it? Yeah.
Validation. And I think also the other part of it is it's immediate validation for someone on shelf to see, if someone else said it was good, it's got to be good. That does help. So it sort of accelerates that. problem that the waitress in it, and the consumer might have to try it, right? The moment it's got like a, an award, they kind of, okay, it's good. So that's a big part of why we'd be sort of entering awards. We've got a new flavor variant that's coming. It's an interesting one. And I think every time I say it, I can't say it on here yet. That's it's because it's not on the shelf yet, and it's kind of in line to win an award. So I think I'm not really allowed to talk about it.
Watch this space, yeah.
So we have one in the non-alcoholic sort of mindful, and then I think the idea behind mindful drinking. I believe I do not drink. I do drink alcohol. I just drink less alcohol these days. And I think I've drank less alcohol since I've had a son. After pregnancy, breastfeeding, and things like that, you just drink less alcohol. So you need to be on your game, or doing your kids are awake at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and you can't be unwilling. You've got to be functional. So I think the mindful drinking space. We wanted to pick something that was non-alcoholic, and that didn't make people feel like they obviously out in any way by having that. But I don't think mindful drinking is about not embracing the fact that people do drink. Of course they do. So the number of people we've talked to us and said, but you can add vodka to it, right? And I was like, well, you can do anything you want.
You can do whatever you want, yeah.
I mean, add whatever you want to it. Yeah. The next logical step, obviously, is for us to look at, we are currently formulating, slightly alcoholic options, but I feel like I say slightly alcoholic, mindful drinking options. So if a classic Bloody Mary is very alcoholic, well, I think it should be. And so I think there are versions of more mindful tomato-based drinks that we can bring out that talk. There's actually more than just vodka. You can add many. Tomato juice is incredibly versatile. We get Bloody Marys, we get Red Snappers with gin, you get Bloody Josephs with whiskey, Bloody Pirates with rum, Bloody Marias with tequila. Like you name the booze, and they put it in a tomato juice and give it a name. So there are many other options out there. So we're looking at obviously the fact that there are so many variations and possibly bringing out some mindful drinking spaces. But then also it's really important that we keep flavor profiles interesting and exciting. Obviously, people always ask, is it all going to be tomato juice? Well, I'm not saying forever, but for now, tomatoes are quite complicated. They're quite acidic. They're quite savory. So it's quite a complicated thing to solve. So while we are solving that, and we haven't completely solved it across all the different variations, we'll stick to that. But there are other options on the line to talking about what is delicious, alternative, and gives people, not necessarily a sweet drink to drink will be what we'll look at.
So diversification and expansion of the range feels like it's there. And where can people in the UK find your product? So if I'm looking for them, where can I find them?
It's a very good question. So I mean, obviously, distribution is one of the toughest thing, and we've been around for an incredibly long time. So in the UK, so you can find us on a lot of the local independents.
Of course, yes. The joys of living in the countryside, isn't it? Yeah.
And in this countryside, because I focused initially on close by. In London, and we're lucky enough to be a sort of a few of the really nice kind of high-end, interesting foodie retailers. So like the Harvests, the N60s. We've actually focused our kitchen predominantly on Happy for now as a starting point. So in Happy and surrounds a lot of the bodegas and really nice local corner retailers that have beautiful, interesting product are stocking us in sort of the Happy and surrounds area, and we're slowly building that out. So that. If all else fails, you can find us on Amazon, or you can buy directly from our website. So we are available in both of those. Funny enough, someone said to me, are you on Amazon? And I was like, I'm from TeP. But we were on Amazon before we would launch anywhere else.
Of course, you have to be where the customer is and where you can get it quickly to the consumer as well. Yeah.
So we're on Amazon, you get us directly to our website, and we always put an eye for that. And so if you taste us and you can't find us at your local shop, we will be there. But we are slowly but surely expanding, and our focus is quite heavily on that, the foodie and independent foodie space, because I think that's where we're seeing a lot of traction. I think people kind of are keen to race new things, and so we're with keeping company on their shelves. Every now and then I take my husband into one or two places that we get stocked in London, and his first answer is, list here. The things are so amazing, and there's incredible producers that you can't find at high street stores that are in those shops. So we're very lucky to be part of those kind of stores.
That's brilliant. Paula, we always end the podcast with the Trailblazer takeaway tips, where we ask the guests to share the pieces of advice you wish you would have known in your early 20s or 30s, or the wisdom that you want to impart with the audience about your career journey, just things to help them along the way.
I think my biggest advice is always find someone else who isn't in your business or in your direct company, like who isn't dealing with your day to day. It is in a similar stage or dealing with a similar problem, or it doesn't matter what it is. Just find a few confidants and be their biggest cheerleader, and they will be your biggest cheerleader. Have someone that you can touch base with once a month, once every 2 weeks, once every 6 months, whatever works for the two of you in your relationship, and say, how you doing? What's going on? And hear what they're experiencing. And your relationship, obviously you can have friends, but these are specific people that you have sought out because they're having careers at still different pieces to yours. I have found having one or two of those in my life has been invaluable because they'll come from a different perspective. Their job is to tell you how the great you're doing, which is quite nice. And this person can't be your mom. I'm sure your mom is doing that too, and that's great. But she's coming from a very sort of personal place. You want somebody talking at sort of a business base. I've lived my whole life for that sort of a really good mentor. But mentors are hard because obviously they've got lots that they don't have a lot of time on their hands, and so I've worked with mentors for you know, find someone who you can talk to freely, who is in a similar kind of space to us, and share. Ask them and give them any of your contacts and have them do the same for you. Have those people outside of your business that you talk to so that you can just share your questions, and it can expand into your personal life and how that's affecting your business. But have people in your life that you talk to about those things, because I've learned so much from other people in different industries who are going through similar things about, how can we do that the same? And it's because I come from a tech background, often the people that are talking about are in tech. And so they'd be doing something weird and I'd be like, what? That's so interesting. How can I use that? Or can I help you? Or I know John, he does this thing. It's been really good. So that would be my suggestion, is try and find a few people that can be those people for you. They don't have to be mentors. They can just be your peers, and have a set every now and then that you talk to each other and you cheer each other on, because it's nothing like hearing someone else go, oh my gosh, that is so amazing, from someone you respect and that knows about you, versus the saying, my mom is really good at cheerleading, but she doesn't always know what she's cheerleading about. She's like, that's so impressive. I was like, well, it's sort of. That's
And this is why you've got your phone as well, isn't it? Because your phone, you can reach out, contact people. Social media is great for that. LinkedIn's, whatever, Slack channels, knock your boots out. There is a way for you to reach out to someone.
Absolutely. And I think what Positive just needs to make sure that you've got a few people that you reach out to that you can chat to. And as I said, don't be afraid to share things like how you're feeling about things, or, because whether you might not be in the same industry, you're probably feeling the same way or approaching things what's impacting you in a similar way. And there's nothing like a different perspective to just make you, feel like you've been new or understood something better, which is really lovely.
Amazing. I mean, Paula, this has been refreshing to have this conversation. And we were brought together by a lovely lady who I also had on the podcast and connected me. She's talked about the Buy Women Build community, which I think I need to join as well now. And it's just been amazing. I think, like you said, finding your tribe, finding people who are on similar journeys, who want to share their stories. That's the reason why I do the podcast. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to be part of it. Such a pleasure.
It's lovely. And I'm coming around for some tomato too.
Well, definitely. Well, I've got barbecue, so me and food. So we could also do that too.
Thank you so much.
No worries. So for the audience, this has been the Trailblazers Experience podcast. Tell another woman about the podcast. You know where to find us. Follow, share, like, subscribe, all those good things. Until next time, bye.